Hello, everybody, and welcome to another episode of the False Described podcast. I have with me a very special guest. It's called Soraia Sakkaidou, and she has a
Hello.
lot of things to talk about. Hello, Soraia. Can you?
Hello.
Hello. How are you this very fine day?
I'm good. I'm looking forward to our conversation. A little
Yeah,
excited and chill.
yeah, me too. We have a lot of things to talk about, and when I say a lot, I do mean a lot of things to talk about. But can you start it with introducing yourself?
Okay. So, hello everyone. My name is Soraia Sakkaidou. I'm a creative. I am a visionary sound practitioner and inner abundance cultivator, pleasure activist, and intuitive business strategist.
Pleasure activist. That's very interesting. But we're going to talk about all those titles and much, much more. Um, let's start with something interesting that you said in our kind of pre-interview. We talked about you having those kinds of visions or kind of psychic moments when you were a kid and you saw things that you didn't want to see or experience things that were so surreal that you couldn't describe them. Can you talk about that part of your childhood?
Sure. Yeah. So growing up, I was a really sensitive kid. I think a lot like many people out there that may be watching. I was highly creative. I didn't know that, but this sensitivity allowed me to see between the in-between lines, which I like to say. And sometimes you see the beauty and the wonder and the magic that can often be lost in modern society. And, you know, that's always been there in ancient cultures, and it's just life. um, and at the same time, seeing between the in-between lines meant seeing things in um, the energetic field and the astral that were not so pleasant, which I've shared before. Yeah. So some examples. You want some examples?
And we can talk about some examples, but I wanted to stop on magic, talking about magic and kind of the antiquity that is lost to modernity. Um, what is the kind of field of magic that engulfs this earth? Was it always a kind of an eternal superpower, or is it something that is human, that is intrinsic to human beings, as opposed to the natural physical world?
I see humans. I think that depends on how we perceive. For me, I see humans as superhumans. We have an immense amount of potential and access to infinite possibilities, but we're just starting to develop and understand that. And for a long time, I think that there are so many clues left along the ways, and so many civilizations that have ventured into this, but our society is just learning. I mean, I was actually laughing about this in a conversation with someone. I was just saying, I saw a meme that had instructions on how to breathe. And this is something I teach people too, and I had to learn. But when I saw it, I was just like, I can't believe that part of the work that I do is teaching people how to breathe. And I still have to remind myself about that. We're humans, we're learning how to breathe. We're literally. So I feel like that superpower is intrinsic to us as human beings. It's always been here.
Yeah, so human beings were always here, but in a different kind of form. You were talking about past lives, and we'll get to it in just a moment. But I want to get back to the kind of psychic visions or visual journeys or psychedelic journeys that you experienced when you were younger. Yeah.
Okay, so when I was young, I had certain things that were for example, I lived in different places. I was born in Singapore. I lived in, when I was living in Australia, and I was a young kid, I think of like 9 years of age. I went to the markets with my mother, and I came back with a typewriter. I came back with a typewriter, yeah, and it was this vintage pastel blue typewriter. And one day while I was using it, I think it was the first few times I actually sat down alone with it. Probably the first time I sat down alone with it in the house, like nobody was around. The air changed, the quality of feeling in my body changed. My awareness became larger than just the room that I was in and just, you know, normal mundane reality. I started to feel all of these emotions that felt quite separate and like secondary to me. It was like outside of me, yet it was like I was looking in a very clear glass mirror, not mirror, glass, plain glass. And
yes.
and then I felt this very this presence of somebody else. So it's kind of like the same as having somebody else in the room, but it's not a physical person, right? And it was a man, and I, you know, got information about, you know, this man used to use this typewriter, and I was feeling his feelings and things like that. So that's one example.
So what did he do for a living? Was he kind of an author, or what did he do?
I didn't know that. I didn't know that at the time. I mean, I just knew that it belonged to him. I knew that he was probably about like 40 something years of age. I was feeling his personal feelings. It was like swimming inside somebody's insides.
Was he a living human being, or he passed? It was a ghost, yeah. A kind of a spirit, not a ghost, shall we say.
Yeah.
Ghost is a loaded term, yeah.
Yeah.
So you felt his presence in your kind of living room where nobody was around. So you knew that that experience was authenticated, shall we say, by you being alone. Yeah.
Yeah. And authenticated just because it was really, for me, just as real as something else, you know, day to day, except it was a completely new experience. So I was quite afraid as a child of some of the things that I experienced. And like I shared with you, while I had access to some beautiful, you know, insights and connections, I also had certain things that were quite shocking and downright scary as a kid. And, you know, as I shared with you before, like, I think one of the most beautiful spaces that I had, and was a place that was like a sanctuary for me, was when I would go to sleep at night and close my eyes and just fall very deeply into this kind of oceanic stillness and presence with myself and, you know, the guides and the totems that would show itself, you know, one of which was the shark. Was
Sharks.
7, and I was 7, and I always, you know, felt their presence. And I think that it had a lot to do with the environment that I was growing up in, and witnessing at such a young age the many different layers of violence and the things that felt so incoherent to my being as a child. I mean, like, you come into the world as a child, and you are like one of the closest things to source, you know? So it's like before the conditioning, before the programming. So you come in, and things that have become so normalized they feel harsh to your system. And I've got like this gift that I think a lot of people have. I meet a lot of people because this is the work that I've been doing this work since 2013. So even before that, growing up, I can look at someone, I can just know, you know, like we are the same or somewhat the same, or you've had some sort of experiences. You might not have the same words for it. You might not have the same language than me, but I can tell that
Yeah,
the way
that's
we see might be.
interesting. That's interesting.
Yeah.
How would you recognize someone who undergone such a powerful experience as you had and had a powerful visions?
Sorry, could you rephrase that again? I didn't hear
How
that.
would you recognize someone when you encountered them and you know that they undergone the same kinds of experience that you had? Those visions. We'll get back to that vision because I want to go down the rabbit hole a little bit with that.
Okay,
But can you
let's
tell
do
me
it.
how would you, yeah, so how would you recognize a person who is kind of, shall we say, sensitive to the spirit world, shall we say?
I recognize it in their field before anything else.
Mm.
And then secondly, you can kind of tell by their interests. But when I say field, that starts on an energetic level and also on a physical level, like sometimes just how they move. It's something that I
Interesting.
just, yeah, just how they move and how they relate to certain common things. Like,
Mm.
yeah.
Yeah, kind of like a spirited away when you see those normal, yes, the normal humans. The normal humans, they can't see the commies and the onis. What the terms? I am not going to get into those terms, but people who know those kind of
Yes.
Japanese Shinto spirits. But the regular people can't see, the parents can't see those ghosts, but the little kid, she sees everything around her. And when you look at people, I understand what you're kind of saying when you say that they walk funny, those kinds of people, because I know people like that who are very um, try to find a kind of or they see spirits wherever they go, or they can sense the essence of an object or a place or a
Yes.
person. So it's very interesting to me. But getting back to your experience, when you close your eyes and you enter the kind of spirit world where you see, or the kind of ether that surrounds the globe and surrounds the human consciousness. Um, so when you open that door, you close your eyes, you close one door to the reality, and you open another door to the realm of dreams and possibilities. So take me for one of those journeys. You close your eyes, you open the goal that you go up the stairs, you open the golden door, and what's on the other side?
Are you asking me to do it now?
No, to describe
Oh.
one of those
Okay,
experiences.
describe one of the journeys that I've actually, okay.
Yes.
Um, so I can share the first one that comes to my mind is when I was 25 or 24.
Mm.
I'm 33 now. When I was 25, I think around early 30, 25, I had a dream. And so, sometimes you close your eyes in meditation and you can see certain things and you receive certain messages and insight. Sometimes you close your eyes and you go on a guided journey and you might have a facilitator there and you can see as well and receive. And sometimes you could possibly also connect to this dream time realm when you are asleep and through your actual dreams. So this is one where it was a dream. And I had a dream, or I was flying, and then I landed in a space where I think there was this doorway, and it was black, and I went through it. And the moment I went through it, it felt like I was no longer in a dream, even though I was in a dream. But the quality and the of the dream completely changed. It's um, as vivid, the change, as if you walked from an air conditioned room into a hot steam room. It's just very evident. And so for me, when I walked in and I arrived in this place, I was on top of many this kind of like a wooden structure that was like kind of like on stilts. It was very like, it was solid, but it was quite thin as well. And I stood on top of it, and I was alone, and I looked down on my periphery, and there were many tourists. And I knew they could not see me, right? And I was waving, they could not see me. So there was a lot of tourists. And suddenly I like knew and heard that I am in Japan. And it was in a forest. And I was just like, oh, this is interesting, because it was different from, there are many different types of dreams that you can have. So this one was very evident that it was astral travel. So I was going to a real life place. Yeah.
Whoa, wait, hang on a minute. Astral travels. Whoa, what that means exactly? Astral travels. Can we hang on?
So basically, it means like when you're traveling, you're just traveling without your physical body. It's a very simple way to put it. And yeah.
So you are one of the spirits haunting the Japanese pagoda or temple.
You say haunting.
Yeah. Or not haunting, maybe hanging around, I don't know, on top of the roof.
So it was just for a moment, and it wasn't a pagoda. It wasn't a pagoda. It was something else. It wasn't a building. And in that moment, I suddenly got projected into the sky and brought above a light city. So light cities are basically, spaces where civilizations, like different types of civilizations, like exist. And they're friendly and like without Earth. So anyways, they are in some of these spaces are located in different parts of our world, except it's interdimension. I mean, it's on another dimension. So I was being shown that there was one that belonged to the Pleiadian civilization. And I don't know if you're familiar with it, but are you familiar with the Pleiadians?
Yeah, the Pleiades constellation that I know. Yes.
Awesome.
Of course.
So
I don't know if I don't know if there are aliens, but I tend not to believe that theory, but because if there are aliens, they are very far away, very far away, and it is almost impossible for them, even with their technology, if they exist, to arrive and to come to Earth. It is near impossible. But yeah, okay, I'm sorry to interrupt you. Yeah, so.
No, it's okay. That's good. It gives context. So like, I never subscribed to any of this before as well. I just, through the healing journey that I was sharing with you prior to this recording, when I said that I journey with sound and meditation, and then into sexuality and creativity was something that was, always there in my healing journey as well, and supporting others. But more on that later. But
yes,
during that journey, on the sound and consciousness journey, and I was connecting with guides. One of them was the Star Nation. So they would come through in my meditations, and the Pleiadians were one of them. And so I had these dreams And
I like
so
it,
that's one of the
the Star Nation, a different term for kind of
aliens.
aliens. Yes, but I like it. So, yeah, I'm going to adopt it. Yeah, I like it so much. The Star Nations. Yes.
Yeah, it rings more true. And so I was being shown. I saw the light structures, and the Pleiadians, and they're all and it was like above a certain part of Japan. I still don't know which part of Japan, but yeah. So that was one of the journeys.
Whoa. Wow.
That was a long time ago. That was
Cool.
legitimately like 9 years ago.
Did you ever have a kind of astral projection and meta consciousness when you were conscious and not dreaming? Did you have
I feel I feel like I was very conscious when I was dreaming, but I think I know what you're saying. You mean when my eyes are open?
Yeah,
and
awakened state.
Waking day.
Yeah, awakened state. Yes.
Yeah. So have I ever? Yes, I have. So I have.
Okay.
So the first one that comes to my mind is, just walking down the street and then having my visuals and experience shift in front of me, and the trees become a different type of trees, and so interesting, with all Japanese related. I did not totally expect this. I had a sense while looking at your podcast, but and I knew that I was in Japan. Yeah.
Cool.
Yeah. So I mean, there's a longer story to that one. It's not just that I knew that I was in Japan. During that time, I was also in connection with another individual who was going to Japan during the same at the time, and he visited temples. And when he was at the temple, I happened to be in a sound healing circle and doing a sound transmission for some people. And the individuals in the group pointed out that they saw me in front of the Japanese temple, and he was there. And
just one moment about this. We'll get back to it, but I want to make a caveat, like the sound transmissions, just so we keep it in our memories. So you can go on.
Okay.
Yes, you can go on with this story.
Okay. So during that time, this person was spent a lot of time unconscious, like sleeping, and didn't remember a lot of the things. And we had a certain connection at the time. This is so interesting that I'm talking about this. I did not expect myself to talk about this. Such a old story. But so during that time, I was in another country. I wasn't in Japan, but I had a dream that I went to Japan. And after that dream, I was walking on the streets in the country that I was in, and the trees and my experience all became based in Japan. And when I got into conversation with him, he couldn't remember a lot of the things that he was going through. So it was this kind of soul connection.
Yeah. So getting back to the kind of sound transmissions, I'm sorry, I needed to make a mental note to go back to go back to the sound transmissions, and I want to know what the heck it is, the sound transmissions, because you kind of you went around and gestures with your hands and talk about a lot of terms and things that I don't understand because I'm not in that kind of let's say facet of reality. But so what is a kind of a sound transmission, and why would one want to go under that kind of session with a sound transmission? What are they trying to solve within themselves?
Right. So, I mean, first I want to share the impact of this that I had and that I went through. When I was going through recovery, and a lot of the, medicines, psychiatry, all of these things didn't work for me, like I shared with you. My sister at one point shared with me a bunch of recordings from this teacher, and she was doing sound transmissions. So we call it light language, and it just sounds like this kind of many different sounds coming out rapidly, and it's not in English or words or anything like that. And I listened to them like medicine, 21 days in a row. I listened to them. And they were meant to clear karmic dissonances. And so it really, I didn't understand what exactly it was at the time, because I didn't know. She was talking about star nations. She was talking about karmic clears. I understood what karmic clears were, and I was open enough to understand, because I was seeing psychics and things before that who told me about some of these things, that I meant to do the kind of work that they do and things like that. So these sounds basically come from her channeling, and this is something that I do as well. These sound transmissions are basically me channeling in through information in the form of sound to communicate with an individual's energetic field, to communicate with an individual's physical body, to communicate with an individual's light body and soul presence, right? So it's kind of my access point to connecting to an individual on a soul level, because there's so many disturbances and dissonances and issues today in our world that have forgotten the social aspect. And within the social aspect, there is also the soul aspect that is forgotten. And so this acts as a way to connect with an individual through healing. So what basically sound is the vehicle that I use within shamanic healing. So what I do is essentially healing, and it's shamanic in nature because I'm working with more than one dimension, and I'm using sound as the vehicle to communicate and to translate this energy, as well as just energy healing. Yeah,
that is so cool. I think a lot of temples in kind of the ancient world have that kind of sound element to them, because the pyramids of Egypt, they have all those kinds of tubes where the priesthood would gather around and would chant different kind of spells and bells and whistles and whatever you want to call it.
And crystals, yes.
Yeah, I don't know about crystals. I'm not an Egyptologist, but it's fine. I agree with you. There probably were kinds of tools like a Tibetan, what do you call it? Those
Tibetan bowls?
Yes, the Tibetan bowls. Yes. So I believe they would have something similar to that in ancient Egypt. But getting back to the kind of shamanic rituals, it's something that is very interesting to me because, I come from the academy. I have 2 degrees in art and literature, and I'm a man of science, I think. Even though I hail from the humanities, I still use the scientific method in my own philosophy, in my own thinking, and as well as in my academic work. But I'm so interested about, ancient cultures and spiritualism, shamanism, and magic. Can you tell me a little bit about the kind of importance of shamanism, or why do human beings have that kind of spiritual yearning for the beyond or the transformational?
It's so interesting because when you ask this question, I feel for me it's been something that is so intrinsic, like ever since I was a kid. So what I always see to go beyond is the human conditioning. And the like living more shamanically, seeing more shamanically, more wholesomely, one in a way that includes like the multiple layers and dimensions of the human being and of life, you know, and not just to live in this world where you know, there's just one thing to do in this one way, and then this, okay, and then like repeat, repeat. For me, that is what is natural. So when you ask this question, my going beyond is always in the human conditioning and suffering, by understanding pain, you know, understanding the difference between pain and suffering, that it's okay to feel pain, but we don't have to suffer. And if we understand how to alchemicalize and to transmute within our inner world, these different elements that can come up within us, and when we understand that process, and that we can be fully in control and well, not totally in control, but you know, we can guide that process. We can ignite that process. We can understand that journey of transformation within. Then what happens is that we can have less suffering in the world, you know? And so for me, that is the thing that I always want to go beyond. You know, when I was younger, not like when I was a child, but when I got older and got super angry and like hated human beings, and, you know, was just like hardcore anti almost everything. I always wanted to go beyond. I wanted to go beyond this world. I wanted to leave it. I wanted to explore outside of, you know, the reality that we're living. I wanted to escape. But what I'm talking about is a coming back. It's about reuniting, you know, consciousness and the body, about reuniting our spiritual selves and seeing ourselves as cosmic, you know, soul beings, and connecting that with the mundane in our life, so that our life can become animated, so our life can be full of joy and beauty and wonder and imagination, just like when we were children again.
Yeah. It's a great metaphor for human kind and for history of humans, at the very least. We were kind of in our titular years of evolution. I don't believe entirely in the theory of evolution. I believe some of it. Well, talking about the childhood, that's why they call it the cradle of humanity. But it's a derogatory term. And now when they say that those kinds of myths that came from the past, mainly from Mesopotamia, the Middle East, Southeast Asia, all those places, India, there are kind of a derogatory terms, but do you think that myths have any veracity to them? Are there even the supernatural kind of elements in the myths, in the stories? Do they have any kind of truth to them?
The way I see it, I look at myths as, in a way, I look at myths kind of like a gateway to understanding the unseen. Okay. I look at characters like archetypal energies and representations of our inner world. And I look at myths as a way, because storytelling has always been in our culture, right? This is how we pass down wisdom and we pass down through oral traditions, different types of understandings that sometimes people want to keep a little bit more hidden and close to them, and sometimes it's to share. Sorry.
That's interesting. Trying to keep like the secrets of the magic of the universe to yourself, to be a hoarder and not to try to spread that knowledge.
Well, not really a secret, more so because at the end of the day, it's like if you will see it when it's time to see it. When your eyes open and you look at something, you will have a different perspective of a story. You can read a story like 10 times and you're going to have different interpretations each time. As you grow, as your mind grows, as your eyes open, as you let go of the conditioning, you're going to have different insight and gateway into the stories. So it's not so much that it's hidden, but it's embedded within the stories. And I feel when you ask me, is there truth to them? I feel like this is a way that we have passed down our teachings and our understanding of the world. So I definitely feel like there's truth to them. If definitely, like, you know, if you talk about literally, maybe not always literally, but some of the mythical creatures and mythical representations, do I believe in them? I do. Because I've experienced them.
Yeah. So getting back to the past lives, how do those, in your personal journey and discovering all the past lives, it reminds me of the kind of Buddha who meditated for 60 years after he left his family under the Buddha tree. And he saw all his past lives, the only person in history or, you know, history to do that. But
not the only person, but
yeah,
but
yeah,
forged the path.
Yes, but there are, I mean, there are a lot of people who make that claim, but that's fine. Okay, you can believe yourself, and that's good enough, I think. But how do your past lives, maybe you were a cat or a cloud or I don't know, a pagoda in your past life, but how do your past lives inform your current kind of incarnation?
Right. So I would say the first time that I connected with a past life consciously, was, well, semi-consciously. I was about 9 or 10 years old, and I had to write a story in class and bind together a book. And I started to write the story of King Tut, and I had not watched any historical, like any shows. My family didn't talk to me about King Tut. And I remember only in hindsight, in retrospect, now being older, that the process in which that I was in when I was writing and when I was coloring and, you know, holding the book, it's very, 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 very much the same and similar to when I'm connecting in my sessions with my spirit guides and just using sound instead of writing. So I would say that one, I knew something was different, but I didn't know exactly what. I wasn't just like, oh, this is from, information from another time. I just, knew it on a sensory, somatic level, consciousness, but I didn't consciously knew about it. So the first time I consciously engaged with the past life, I was maybe about 25 years old. And I suddenly had about like 11 p.m. at night, I had this desire to go to the middle of the living room. And I went out of my room, went to the living room, and I pulled one of the dining table chairs away and into this like space where I'm facing the window, which is facing the sky. And I sat down there and, I felt this presence, not yet. I felt something shifting in the air. I felt something was coming, almost kind of like, it felt like when you find out a tsunami is coming, but you're not gonna die. Okay, you just know a tsunami is coming.
Well, you're in
the
Japan,
world.
so yeah, where?
I'm not. I wasn't in Japan, but like yes.
Yeah.
So I had that feeling, this like a swell is coming, and so I was just like, okay. So I just sat down, and I remember I just sat down and I just put my hands on my lap, and I just looked out into the sky, and it felt that feeling building and building and building. And this wasn't like a malevolent kind of feeling. Yeah, it was just, it's like pressure, it's building, right? And I had a little bit of fear because I was like, what the fuck? Like, you know, but
Yes,
I was
exactly like that. What the fuck?
Yeah, like what the fuck?
Yes,
Exactly. But I knew on a deeper level that it was not malevolent or anything. So I just breathed and went through, like, you know, I was calming myself down as the pressure built. And suddenly it was as if I felt that swell and that pressure approach me from about 20, 30 meters away. I had like an awareness of the physical distance, and then it came closer and closer. And then the closer it got to me, I started to feel my body shape, like my body shifting and changing. So suddenly, just sitting down with my hands on my lap, I would prop up my spine, like shifted position, my shoulder went back, you know, my whole structure started to change. And then, you know, I think I like opened my not possessed, guy. That was when I was younger. I had those kind
Who
of
you gonna
situations,
call?
but,
Yeah.
huh?
Who you gonna call? The Ghostbusters, of course.
So so I had this connection was coming through, and I opened my legs, I sat up, and that presence made itself known, because now it was very close to me. And I knew that he was a man. I knew that his origins was of like Native American origins. He felt very wise and very benevolent. It was very calm when he was finally there, like near me, within me. When I connected that intimately with it, the fear disappeared, it dissipated. So no, nothing like any kind of psychic attack that I had when I was younger, like wanting to, you know, throw myself off the building or anything like that. It was very opposite. So the moment I had that intimate connection, you know, the fear dissipated, and I had connection. With this connection, I understood it to be one from a past life. You know, it was a past life, from a past life. And, you know, he was an older, wise man, a medicine man. And I connected with that energy. I connected with myself and that medicine man energy from a past life consecutively for quite a while, at the beginning especially. And this was something that would come through very strongly in my sessions. And it informed me. You asked how it informed me. So it informed me in the work that I was doing, healing myself, because then I started to speak the light language and these words and these sounds, which had so many variations and so much of a journey on its own, like developing and changing, connecting to different, for different purposes. And when his sound came through, it was deeply healing and empowering. I started to have access to this inner power and, the medicine of magic, the magic that he had. And so during the sound sessions, it would guide me through different processes, mainly in soul retrieval and extractions, so psychic extractions, where different type of energetic blockages basically would get removed energetically through shamanic healing. And it was that spirit and that connection that informed my sessions as well. Yeah, so that's one.
Yeah, the one. Yeah. What? So, what is your kind of a spirit animal? You mentioned a shark, and you mentioned the totems and the Native American tribes, and the Native American medicine man. That was your kind of guide. And when you said guide, I thought you meant like real people, physical human beings. But I didn't know they were a kind of spirit guides. But now I'm interested. But
I've had those too, physical as well.
Yeah. But I know that the more impactful kind of experiences happened under the aegis of the spirit guides, if I can
also
add. Yes. So what is your kind of what is your goal spiritually? Where do you want to elevate yourself? How do you want to kind of completely connect with the spiritual world, the interdimensions, the star nations, whoever?
I laugh because because my goals and my aim in life is like not really in that direction, totally not in that direction. For me, it's about integrating my human. That's really my intention and my goal. And I'm not sure if you are familiar with astrology, but kind of, yeah.
Yeah, I admire it from afar, but whenever someone hands me my horoscope, I kind of shiver and I say, that's not science, and I'm sorry, that's not a scientific thing. It's not proved, it's not tested. There is no way to unprove a kind of astrology. You just have to believe that it's real. But I know what you mean by astrology, because the moon affects the waves in the sea in certain ways. So that's one kind of example of astrology, shall we say? To me, at least.
Yeah. Well, actually, astrology is an ancient science that they've studied for thousands and thousands of years, and I'm sure if there's more research done, there are many case studies about it as well, and which are experiments, you can call them. I guess it would be something that has to be not so much believed, but something that you open to and then you experience on your own. It's not something that anybody can convince you of, and for me, nobody can convince me as well if they give me some kind of a scientific fact that says this is not possible, or this is possible, or this is not possible. I'm just like, well, I mean, not all the time.
Yeah, but you're going through a lot of hoops, shall we say, to make just one claim. You make all those kind of caveats in your language and in the papers that you write, that you are covering your own ass, shall we say, scientifically. Yes.
Astrology, within astrology?
No, just in general, when you read a kind of a
scientific report.
Yeah, a paper or article or whatever, and you say, well, I can believe that this part and this part, it doesn't coincide with that thing, and that theory is not proven yet. You make all those kinds of claims, but the problem is with those kinds of crafts of astrology, palm reading, reading in a coffee cup, kind of a mediums, that try to summon spirits from the other side. I don't know about those practices.
There are quacks everywhere. everywhere, in
Yes.
every industry,
Yes. Yes.
in the mystic side, in the intuitive
Yes.
side, in our normal day world.
Yes.
You know, but there is truth as well in the ancient sciences. So anyways, without going too much into that, your question was, you didn't ask a question about
probably.
yeah.
Probably I did not. Yes.
Yeah, no, we were talking about, what are we talking about? Oh yeah, my goals.
Yes. Yes.
Yes.
Your spiritual goals, shall we say?
Yeah. So like, yeah, so I was saying, I was laughing because for me, my goals and intentions in life are not so much to explore all of these things or to reach some kind of point where I can, you know, accomplish, you know, things in that direction. For me, I feel like I brought up astrology because through astrology, you can actually see some of the key factors around the energies that you entered this life with, that you have certain kind of like expertise and experience in because of lifetimes of gathering information.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, and then you also have on the opposite side some key factors. I'm just talking about like the position in the chart. Some key factors that shows you that in this life, what you're here to understand and what you're here to master and what you're here to learn to balance what you came in with. So for me, my expertise and my understanding and like things that are very intrinsic to me all surround the transpersonal and the psychic and the inner worlds and things like that. My goals and my intentions in life is really to integrate this to support other people that might have difficulty dealing with the same kind of issues that I had, and also to support individuals that might not have the same storyline as me, but there are kind of challenges in their real world as a leader, as a creative person, as somebody who is a heart-centered entrepreneur, or just anybody really who considers themselves a leader. The kind of challenges that they are going through, the internal challenges and questions and chaos and things like that, I use these gifts and expertise to support those individuals. So for me, my goals and intentions are really to use it in a practical way to support other individuals, you know, and, you know, head towards just having a more and more integrated life that I probably, you know, I'm 33, and I know that in the grand scheme of things, that's very young.
Like Jesus, yeah.
Yeah. Okay, so when I was like 25, right, I started to support individuals that were almost double my age. You know, so because of these insights that I had, like this connection to, you know, my intuitive side. So, but I still know that I'm 33 regardless, and probably will have a very different story to tell when I'm 60 because of all of the trauma and the difficulty and the challenges that come when you enter a world like the world that we are in today. Like, it's crazy out there. Like, so
yes,
it's like
there
crazy,
is no
okay?
out there. There is in here the internet.
Yes.
Yes.
Yes. And I think, and so for me, it's like I am like I see, like, I don't see myself as a broken person, but I'm definitely like I have a lot of like issues, like all human beings, right? And so spiritual gifts and psychic capacity does not equate to like, to me, okay, this is like from my point of view, it doesn't equate to like some kind of mastery over life itself. It doesn't. And for me, this is like my intention, my goal is just to have a happy life and to have a peaceful one. And, you know, there are so many things that I'm, you know, still working on and that I want to create in this world and just to enjoy this life. And I think that things can just be more and more simple for us human beings. And that is just, that's my intention and my goal, you know, is to keep exploring and to keep like this sense of adventure within me, and to make the complex within me and in life more simple. Yeah.
Wow, this has been whoa, this has been a wild ride, but I enjoyed every second of it. Thank you so much, Soraia, and I'm hoping that we can talk again in the future.
Yes, why not?
Yeah.
Thank you so much, Guy.
This has been Soraia Sakkaidou with, yes, it has wings, you know, it has wings.
Oh, okay, that's
Yes.
new.
It's my invention. Thank you so much for watching, and we'll see you on the next side. Ooh.